Hi, I'm Nicole, writer, producer, and editor here at Critical Crop Top, and this is Tutorial Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about importing 4K footage using proxies. In a previous video, we talked about importing footage into Premiere using just standard QuickTime movies like you would find on a DSLR camera. But what if your project was shot in 4K or 8K? What if you shot on a Red camera, or what if you shot on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera? Those files are going to be really large, and then you might import them into your project and find that, especially if you're editing in a laptop, they might play back stuttery or slow the computer down. So when we have really large files, like 4K, instead of just editing the raw 4K stuff, what we usually do is import them and create something called proxies. That's when, upon importing or ingesting our 4K stuff into Premiere, we have Premiere go through the process of converting them into something that's a lower resolution, like 1080p or 720p. Then we cut everything at the lower resolution, everything plays back nice and snappy, and then at the end, when we're ready to export our project, then we bump it back up to the 4K. So that's what I'm going to be showing you in today's tutorial. We're going to be importing some red footage using proxies. Okay, so here we are in our at our starting point, and we're going to create a new project. Now I'm just going to call this ingest by proxy. But of course, that's an ingest. Ingest by proxy. Okay. Now, of course, you're going to call that whatever the name of your project is. I'm still going to save it to the desktop, and I'm going to go over here to my ingest settings and click on ingest. So once you've clicked on ingest, go over here and choose create proxies. And so when I bring in my 4K red footage, it's going to create proxies, these copy versions of the high resolution footage. So it's going to take up a little bit more space on my drive, but I'm going to have these low resolution copies of my footage that are going to remain linked to the high resolution versions of my footage, and I can go back and forth between them. So I can cut the lower resolution files so that so I can edit faster, more efficiently, and then when I'm ready to do color correction or I'm ready to export my finished piece, I can go back to the high resolution files. So I'm actually going to choose H.264, and of course from this list you can choose whatever you want. You probably want to choose something that's the same aspect ratio as the footage that you're working with. And where my proxy is going to go, rather than same as project, I usually like to choose my wherever it is that I am working on. So let's see. This was from a crowdfunding video, so let's just create a folder here and call that proxies. So I would store your proxies wherever you're storing your media files, which is probably on your hard drive, right? It should be in your hard drive in the folder that is for this project that you're working on. Okay, and let's hit OK. All right, so once I'm in there, I'm going to do the same spiel that I usually do. I'm going to create my video footage bin. I'm going to create my production audio bin. Okay. And I'm going to make sure my video footage bin is selected. Now the difference here is that rather than right-clicking, go to import, in order to do ingest, you really need to go through the media browser. So I'm going to go over to media browser, and then I'm going to find the files that I want to import. So if we go down here to crowdfunding video, we go to video files, and there is all my stuff. Okay, so what I would ordinarily do is I would just select all of these, and then I would import. But since I don't want to wait the time to have them all transcode, I'm actually just going to choose like 3 and then go ahead and hit import. So now what it has done is it has imported these files but it's also going to be opening up Adobe Media Encoder in the background. So in order for this to work, you actually also have to have Adobe Media Encoder, and you'll see that it is pulling it up. So while it has imported the 4K red footage files, it is also going to pull up Media Encoder automatically, and Media Encoder is going to transcode or convert those 4K files into the low resolution files that I need. So without me doing anything, it's going to go ahead and add them to my queue. And you can see it happening right there in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, how long this takes is going to depend on the power of the computer that you're working on, the hard drive that's connected. What I'm working with is pretty decent, so it's not going to take me too long at all. But this is something that you might want to do maybe at lunch when you can step away for a while, or maybe or overnight. I like to do a lot of this kind of stuff at nighttime when I'm kind of done for the day, but I can still come back and check on it and make sure it's doing okay. All right, so we've come to the end of the last clip here in the sequence, in this queue, and you'll see that the two at the top there have a check mark when they are done. And we're just waiting for this one to wrap up. Okay, there we go. And we're done. All right, so if I go back into Premiere, so again, this is happening in a separate program, and this is happening in Adobe Media Encoder. So if I go back over to Premiere, and I click on my clips, right? So if you see down here, right here on the bottom part of my source monitor, I have this little symbol here. And if you don't have it, you can go over here to see this little plus. It says button editor. If I click on that, I can actually add this button. It's my toggle proxies button. Okay, so you can actually add that down here to the toolbar. So when it is off, or white, I'm looking at the 4K stuff, okay? And, oof, that's attractive. And when it is on, or blue, I'm looking at the low resolution stuff, okay? So, and then same thing over here. So if I were to go in and grab something, and there's no audio here, so look at you. So if I were to go over here and grab this, and well, it's going to ask me to create a sequence, or no, it did not. Let's go back here. Let's be intentional about this and create a sequence. And we're gonna watch this trick where it asks me to create, if I want to create a sequence using my clip settings. There we go. All right, let's grab this and drag it in there. Let's change the sequence settings. Great. All right. So now that I've got my clip in there, you'll see again, I can add this button over here in my program monitor if I don't already have it, but this button here allows me to switch between and of course the aspect ratio is a little off there. I can switch between my 4K stuff and my low resolution stuff, which is the H.264 stuff. I haven't changed anything about my original 4K footage. I just now have copies, and these two things share a relationship. So as I'm cutting this, so if I were to come in and just say, and we'll get a little bit more into cutting later, but if I were to come in here and remove something, it's not damaging the original footage. I can switch back to my 4K stuff at any time. And that's it. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another Tutorial Tuesday. And while you're here, check out some of the short films or web series, podcasts, sketches that we produce here at Critical Crop Top. If you have a question about this video, or if you have another topic that you'd really like me to cover in one of our tutorials, leave me something below in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next Tutorial Tuesday.